Hey guys, welcome to episode 12 of the Neowin podcast. I'm Rich Woods.
And I'm Jean Carrasqueira. And this week is fairly slow. We did have
We had a leaked build. Oh, an accidental build. It
yeah,
wasn't leaked because Microsoft actually pushed it. That was
yeah.
pretty cool. Did you install it? You installed it.
I did install it. Yeah, I didn't
Which one
get the
did you
new.
get?
I
You
got
didn't get the
the
full story.
normal. No, I got the normal RSP release one, so it just has a normal story. It's
Yeah,
kind of
I think
sad.
was that a fast ring machine that you got that
Yeah,
on?
yeah. It
Okay.
was.
So this was build 18947. It just showed up in all rings of the insider preview, fast, slow, and release preview, and it happened in the middle of the night, which was awesome. It was cool. It was cool because they didn't fix it right away. I got to wake up and I still got to install it. And so some people got RS pre-release, some people got RS Xbox, and I think that's what you needed for the new
Yeah.
start that was there.
How does the RS Xbox even work on a PC? And why does it look like that?
Oh,
If it comes from an Xbox ring, shouldn't it? I don't know. That seems weird to me.
well, these build strings aren't always what they seem, but also, I mean, there's no reason that you can't run Xbox software on a PC. It's a Xbox is an it's got an AMD x86 processor, an AMD 64 processor in it, and yeah, like that software should work. Obviously, you look at the build, it wasn't showing an Xbox dashboard. It was showing a
Yeah,
brand new
exactly.
start menu.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's why I thought it was weird.
yeah, so the brand new start menu gets rid of live tiles. I would have loved to have seen it because live tiles are awful.
um, I don't know how I feel about. I used to be a big fan of Lifetiles. I always defended them,
On
but I've
phones, they were
noticed that
great.
yeah, they were. But I've just noticed more and more lately that I really don't use them all that much. Um,
Yeah,
I like the way they lay out things, but in terms of their liveliness, it's really irrelevant to me. I really don't get a lot of use out of it. So I'm at a
yeah.
point where I'm very indifferent to
Live tiles are stupid, and
it.
that's all I got to say about live tiles. They're dumb on PCs, and it's about time that they go away. So that's nice. And so it's like that. That's the start menu that we're expecting to see on Windows Lite. I know some people are saying that some people think that start menu won't actually make it to production Windows. That because Windows Lite isn't expected to look like Windows, but that kind of design parity kind of makes sense to me, especially because live tiles are stupid.
And that's the most important point. You can't forget. Lifestyles are stupid.
Yeah. No, they're really
Some-
stupid. They made sense on phones, on Windows phones, and you can look at your phone and you can see the notifications. I don't actually think that they've ever worked well. They've never been picked up properly by developers. So you install an app, you don't know if it has a live tile or not, and they're useless inside of a start menu. So
yeah,
I'm
I think you might be right.
yeah, I'm glad to see.
Um,
I'm glad to see it going away. So the build was 18.9. I installed it from the slow ring. I thought maybe it was fast ring people getting RS Xbox, but also you notice that everyone that wrote about this new start menu used the exact same screenshot from the exact same guy. So clearly it wasn't just broadly rolling out.
oh yeah, it wasn't very common. Somehow I think Windows Central had a video on it, so they must
I
have figured out
suspect,
a way.
yeah, you can. I'm there are people you can download ISOs from, and like this build is out there. You can grab it somewhere.
Oh,
So.
okay.
I don't think it just came out through Windows Update that way, or at least not broadly.
Oh
So
yeah, probably not. Uh,
yeah,
Someone was bound to have gotten it, and that didn't
yeah.
happen. But yeah, I do like the new look. I prefer this over the plain list that we have now next to the tiles. I like this better than just a list with the names.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but like I said when we saw this, I do hope they put update their icons to the new design language because just looks terrible. You know,
Well, they did show off new icons. However long ago it was that they showed off the new Office icons. I don't know when that's
oh
coming or what the deal is with that, but they did show off new icons for all the inbox apps.
Yeah, they did. And remember, like this is like when Windows 10 first came out. I think we were testing what 15.11. There was this very short phase where many apps got colored icons for some people. The Mail app, Photos app. Do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah, that vaguely rings a bell.
Yeah, there were a few apps that got colored icons. So if they did at least that, that would be a good step because this way just looks very, black and white. So there's that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Another thing that this build has, if you try hard enough, Rafael Rivera wrote about this on Twitter. Um, there's the new control center. We've talked about the control center a few times before.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that.
Yeah, basically, at least for now, you have to activate a D word value on the registry editor to create a new D word value,
Mm.
and it turns on basically the action center is just split between the quick actions and the notifications. Uh, each thing is its own section. There's round corners around them, around each section, and if you don't have
Random
any,
corners.
yeah, it's a big news thing in Windows. If in case you don't know yet,
Mm.
um, and if you don't have any notifications, you get just the quick actions. It doesn't have the whole sidebar going on. You just have a little square showing up or rectangle showing up in the bottom right corner. And
Cool.
yeah, yeah, right now it seems very basic. There are no icons or anything. Like all the quick actions are just text. Very strange.
Right.
But it's a start.
All this stuff is under development. It can if it does show up in production windows, which it doesn't have to, it could be months out. Months. I mean, like 20H1 is still a long way off. So, this is an internal build that was never meant to be seen by the public. So, who knows when this stuff actually shows up,
Or if it shows up. Yeah.
or if it shows up, right? Although I
Yeah.
do think the new start menu will show up. Um, I think it makes total sense to get rid of live tiles completely. So,
Yeah, I think a lot of people won't agree with you. I see some people still defending them on Twitter, and I don't know, man. I think they're the same kind of
people are
person
going to
over.
defend them. There's the Windows Phone loyalists that like that was the one of the big arguments for Windows Phone was like, but we have live tiles and people love that stuff. And some people don't want to let it go. And that's fine. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a setting where you could turn them on, but eventually they go away because once no live tiles becomes the default, then eventually support for them within apps just goes away, and then support for it within the OS goes away.
Yeah, that makes sense, and yeah, it's probably bound to happen at this point. And it's like you
Yeah.
said, it's just the same people who defended Windows Phone are the ones who are defending this now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah,
But
did you
yeah,
see that
aside from
that,
that,
that there's that HP? Speaking of Windows Phone, there's the HP Pro X3. Some images of it leaked, and Zach got his hands on one. Zach from Windows Central.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
got like a review up. I mean, I know I know he likes to review unreleased stuff, but it's like at this point, I couldn't even imagine looking at a Windows Phone and trying to write a review.
Yeah, I don't think it's just really, really pointless at this. But it's just living in a bygone era at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it's I'm like so over the Windows Phone is dead stories. Especially like we talked about it for a couple of weeks here, and yeah, it's there was something on Reddit today. Someone it was like a Nokia engineer or a Windows Phone engineer or something, and like he's outlining the reasons that Windows Phone failed. And it's like, dude, we know, like it's done.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, I'm also tired of hearing about the same thing over and over. We get it. It sucked.
yeah.
Whatever. Eh.
So the Xbox dashboard is being redesigned again.
Like,
Um,
I
they're
figured
getting
you
rid of
might
the
know.
twists.
That is a weird name for tabs.
Oh, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. So yeah, like that tabbed interface that we've had probably since I don't know since Windows 10 came out. Um, that's going away. There's going to be buttons now for those different things, which is probably a good idea because the Xbox dashboard can be kind of slow. It can lag, especially on if you've got maybe the original Xbox One. So yeah, so it's all kind of a single page design, and that's about it. Hopefully, it'll be faster. I yeah, the one thing that kind of annoys me about it though is that they've redesigned this dashboard numerous times by now. The first one was when Windows 10 launched, and that was 2 years after 2 years after the Xbox One launched with Windows 8 with a Windows 8 core, and
Yeah.
they completely redesigned it for Windows 10. They've changed a bunch of stuff in there in feature updates to Windows 10, and it's like, yo, how many times do you want to people to have to learn how to use their gaming console again? It's, it just seems insane to me because I think the majority of Xbox users don't care about what the dashboard looks like. They just want to get into their game.
Yeah, I think you're right. And any operating system realizes, I think, that you can't change everything so frequently. It takes time for things to
Right.
change significantly because people get used to things and they don't want to have this learning
Yeah.
curve showing up every few months.
See, and you could use the LB and RT buttons to switch between tabs. So now that functionality will be gone. And I mean, those were easy shortcuts to use, and now you don't have them. Like it's funny because they just said now you can get to these things quicker by just going to buttons, and it's like it seems like it was quicker to just be able to toggle through those menus, but whatever. I mean, it's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
that's a weird logic.
Yeah.
And
So
uh,
50% of insiders on 1908, 50% of insiders on 1910 should be getting this.
yeah, and also Cortana is going away from headsets or something. Yeah, you can't
Yep,
use
it's
Cortana.
going away from the console, really.
Yeah,
So,
that's Cortana
I
is
mean,
as dead as UWP at this point
yeah, well,
for consumers anyway.
what you can still use Cortana to interact with an Xbox. It just has to be from another device. So it's not device based; it's cloud based, as they said. Like Cortana wasn't cloud based before, but whatever. Um, so like if you've got a Harman Kardon Invoke, you could use Cortana on your PC, the mobile apps, and you could use that and say tell the Xbox to do whatever. The same way that you interact with Alexa, in fact. So that's
Oh,
fun.
but Alexa doesn't Alexa work in the Xbox directly?
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe there's an
Oh,
Alexa
okay.
app for. No, you need an Alexa skill to interact with it, and then like an Echo or something. So
Oh, okay. I thought now it would have Alexa doing more than Cortana, which in a way it already does because there's those new skills we talked about the
right.
other week. But
Yeah. So now you won't be able to use Cortana through a headset, which is all that they mentioned. And what they didn't mention, probably because Connect is dead, but you can't use Cortana with a Connect either. Um, the what you can do though, at least with a Connect, I don't believe it works with a headset. Is you can use the old Xbox commands where you can say Xbox turn on, Xbox turn off. I actually like that better than Cortana when it came out. But that was like Cortana came to Xbox, I believe, with the no, it wasn't with the Windows 10 update. I think it was maybe 1607. But before that, we just had these Xbox commands where you could just talk to it. So those still work, just not Cortana.
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes. I guess that's fine. I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to do. It's like I said, Cortana was already cloud based. Why remove it at this point?
Yeah, well, I never use voice assistants with my gaming console anyway. So this this doesn't affect me personally. I've seen criticism from people saying that it's bad for accessibility, for people that might use voice control more because they, have whatever issues that would cause you to do that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on accessibility, but I used to use the old Xbox commands back when Connect was a thing. I probably still have my Connect somewhere and the adapter that'll plug it into my Xbox One X. But when I used to use Connect, it was great to say Xbox turn on, and it would just, you could walk into your living room and say Xbox turn on, console turns on, then your TV turns on, you're just ready to go. But those days are behind me.
Now you can do that again. So there's that.
I mean, I can still do that. I could plug in my Harman Kardon Invoke, which is sitting in a closet, and use that, but I won't. I won't. I really won't.
Yeah. Why would you? Who uses Cortana?
Yeah, yeah. That speaker crapped out on me at some point. If I plug
Oh,
it in,
really?
it just shows a red ring on top, like something went wrong, but there's no way to find out what went wrong or how to fix it. So so I just don't use it. I keep it kind of as like the same reason I keep my Windows phone. It's like a museum. I don't know.
That sounds like the red ring of death all over again.
Yeah, I know, right? Red is the universal sign of bad. So.
Same with communism.
So that the Cortana stuff though, that's not coming till 19H2, I believe they said. And
Uh,
yeah, they said that Skip Ahead Insiders are testing it, and then it'll come in an update in the fall, which it should be 1910, although unless Xbox is weird. They have those monthly updates, so they could pull it back and do it in 1911 or 1912 or 2001 or whatever they do.
yeah, that's. I mean, 2001. Oh yeah, 20. Is there
Yeah.
usually 2001? Okay, yeah,
Well,
that's a
usually, I mean,
possibility.
it's based on the year and the month. Usually is not an
Oh,
actual.
yeah. You
But
know
it's
what?
like saying is there usually in 1909? Like, no, but there will be in September.
You know what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious like if they're gonna do 2003 for Windows, or especially Windows Server, because we already have a Windows Server 2003. So
Oh yeah.
I bet they will though. I bet they will. We'll see. I'm just curious about, like, they could go back to calling they could call the version numbers 20H1, but I actually don't know if Windows is set up that way. You know, just a note about version numbers.
Yeah, but that I was gonna suggest the same thing. Yeah, if they just use the 20H1 naming scheme, that would
I
work.
wonder if they could. It really depends on how Windows is coded. Like if they use a number as an identifier, then they can't add a letter. Um, like I assume that the way that Windows Update works, I don't actually know this. I assume that the way that Windows Update works is that you hit check for updates. It takes the build number you're on, sends it to the server, says this is the build number. Is the build number on the server greater? Yes. All right, send him that update. Right. So I don't know if version numbers work the same way, because if they do, then you can't just throw a letter into the mix. It would always need to be a number. They could
Oh,
always
you're
take
right.
that. They could always recode that in a feature update. Any feature update, you're installing a full build of Windows, so they could change anything they want.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that would be a weird clash there because
Yeah.
2003, 2003, yeah,
Yeah.
that confused some people. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Galaxy Fold is back. Um,
um,
they fixed it,
finally,
apparently.
yeah,
I
this time it's official from Samsung. They actually said it.
listen. They said they fixed it. They said it'll be out in September. And I know that in previous episodes of this podcast, I have said that this device will not ship in 2019. I'm sticking with that prediction. I'm sticking.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
boy. Oh boy.
So T-Mobile already said they're not going to sell it. AT&T hasn't said anything. This might end up at just being sold as an unlocked phone. And, you know, at that point, who knows if it even ships?
That's, I mean, mm, I don't
Like
know.
there's those devices that come out and like technically they have a release date and a ship date, and they're always out of stock. A guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that got one, and you know what I mean. That that's what this might end up being, and then the Galaxy Fold 2 is the one that actually is the
That
one.
people, yeah, that people actually get. Yeah, that. I guess that's a possibility. I mean, I would hope not, but
I I always root for Samsung's failure.
that's mean.
I hate.
Um,
I don't hate Samsung. Actually, they yeah. I mentioned like a week or two ago that I tend to root for the underdogs. So like the big guys like I like to see them get knocked down a peg once in a while. Um, yeah, I can't say that I hate Samsung. They make some great products. Like the S10 Plus is awesome. They're one of few Windows on ARM PC makers, which is really cool. So I do enjoy
yeah.
Samsung. I just also enjoy seeing the big guys get knocked down.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're the biggest smartphone manufacturer in the world. So
yeah, they can take it. Yeah, they're a big boy.
but they'll always go down in history as being one of the first companies that did this. So that's what
Yeah,
matters. And I think that's still all
yeah,
they want.
yeah. I saw your tweet or sometime this week about how they had the first fingerprint scanner on the phone, and it was garbage.
Yes, yes, and
And
I'm
people still
always
say that.
reminded. I'm reminded of that every September because every September Apple launches a new iPhone, and then like you go online and the memes start coming up. The memes like "Welcome to 2012, Apple," because they have these ridiculous memes that show like first fingerprint sensor was Samsung, first this was that like 120 hertz display, that's Android, and it's like first of all, one you're lining up a list of features from like a half dozen manufacturers and just putting it under the Android umbrella and comparing it to one manufacturer. But also, it's like all this stuff was also really bad when it first came out. And fingerprint sensors were one of those. Like, did you ever use one of those Samsung phones where you had to swipe your finger across the fingerprint sensor to get it to work?
I didn't have one, but I heard about that. You
They were
couldn't just tap it like you did today.
they were awful, and I think most people, at least most people that I knew, had that feature turned off. When I reviewed them, I had it turned off. Like I would try it and say this is ridiculous, and I just turn it off because it was terrible. So
Yeah,
and Apple was the first one to put a regular fingerprint sensor on a phone that you could just touch and it logged you in and it worked well. And yeah, that's it's easy first if you don't need to be the best.
yeah. So it's also always easy to say you were first.
But those meme makers, they love the people that were first. It doesn't matter if you were the best.
Yeah.
If Apple makes a foldable phone in 2 or 3 years, you're gonna see the welcome to 2019 Apple.
um, People are weird.
Still waiting for Apple to get knocked down a peg. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sometime I don't know, man. They always seem to
they
come
will.
out on top somehow.
Listen,
This.
those doom and gloom articles that people write about Apple, time will tell on that one. Eventually, you know.
They'll just keep waiting.
I was listening to a podcast once, and this guy, John C. Dvorak, who infamously wrote about how the mouse is doomed to fail, way back in the day, like, and and like this was a podcast maybe I don't know 2 years ago, and he's like, well, time will tell on that one. Like, dude, you wrote this thing like 20 years ago, and like, eventually it's gonna come around.
It just looks really far into the future. It's just his
Yeah,
vision is crazy.
yeah. Apple can't last forever. Their business model doesn't work. Um, you know, it's
Uh,
it's not like by all logic that business model shouldn't work. The business model of you make your own products and you make the software for that product, it shouldn't work. They capture no more than 15% of any market that they're in, or 20% or whatever it is. And if you've got 20% of the smartphone phone market, why are our developers making apps for your platform? It doesn't make sense.
That is true. It's a weird phenomenon when you think about it because
It's a very
I
weird
don't
phenomenon.
know.
Like that used to be the how the PC industry worked way back in the day. You'd make a PC and then you had to make software for your PC. And then, Microsoft came out with DOS and kind of standardized this. And obviously there were other competitors to that, but eventually it all got standardized on DOS and Windows. And you still had, because when I was a kid, we called them IBM compatibles. Like that's what they were called. Now they're just called PCs. And then Apple just
Oh,
stuck with Mac OS, and it just doesn't make sense for that model to be successful in 2019. So I stand by it. Time will tell. Could be 10 years from now. Could be 50 years from now. But eventually,
oh,
Apple's gonna have to make some changes. I think that's what Apple's good at, though, is making changes when it needs to.
yeah. I guess that's how they stay alive. They make changes at just like the last second before it's too late,
Yeah, kind
and
of.
yeah, and they somehow keep surviving like that. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah, we'll see. So yeah,
yeah. I don't think they'll
Galaxy
ever
phones
like
back.
make smartphones with Android. I think it's more
Oh
likely
no.
that they would try to license iOS to other vendors. Which, by the way, is not happening anytime soon. That is not a prediction.
Yeah. I was just wondering which one I think is more likely because that's a good point. Mm, I don't know. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they license iOS eventually. They should. I think they should. Or maybe not iOS, but at least Mac OS. I think it makes sense for them to license
They
because
they have licensed Mac OS in the past,
they
and
have. Oh well.
didn't go well. Well, that way
Oh,
like I'm talking about like '90s before Steve Jobs came back. They at least attempted to license Mac OS because like think about it by any logic that's where they end up. So it's not surprising that someone thought of it. One of the many CEOs they had in the non Steve Jobs era.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that ends up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Galaxy phone's gonna fail. Just, I mean, it's
Yeah. I
carriers
suspect
have
that.
already lost trust.
What?
The carriers have already lost trust in it. I mean, T-Mobile's backing out, and that's definitely not a good sign for it. Not that
I
T-Mobile is the
suspect they're
biggest
gonna.
player.
Well, I mean, there's only two of them though. Like Verizon and Sprint have
Yeah,
agreed to carry it, so
yeah.
it is a big deal. I suspect that they're gonna release this thing in very very limited quantities. Like for those people that really wanted it, you'll be able to get it, and the big deal is going to be the Galaxy Fold 2 next year when they've worked out a lot of the issues, and they'll release it on all four carriers and it won't be $2,000. So
Hopefully.
yeah, I, it's a
It's-
ridiculous price.
yeah, it is. It's just unbelievable.
I
Uh,
don't think foldable smartphones are useful. So I haven't
and
used
they're
one
still
myself.
early. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still early in that era. But I was more faithful for more hopeful for Huawei's, but that Huawei is has its own share of trouble right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, Huawei. I want to get my hands on one, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
yeah, I have no idea either. That's a whole messed up situation.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right. That's all we got. You know. What else is
Yeah,
new?
this
Anything?
episode was on. Huh?
And what else is new? What else you got? Anything?
No, I mean
Anything
Apple bought
exciting happened
Intel.
this week? Oh yeah,
Oh,
Apple bought Intel's cellular
modem
modem business. Oh
business.
no, smartphone modem business. Um, yeah, so Intel can still make modems for PCs, which
Oh,
is
okay.
I'm kind of disappointed with. I was really hoping that Apple was going to take the whole cellular business and then we would just get all our PC modems from Qualcomm.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would have been better probably, but oh well. Yeah.
it's a dying brand though, like because Intel's out of 5G, right? So 4G LTE in laptops is that's on a clock right now. That eventually that's not going to be a thing when 5G is popular. So yeah,
Yeah.
Apple can
Unless
make
Apple decides to buy the rest. I don't know.
they wouldn't they wouldn't. One thing that I find particularly interesting about that story though is that the fact that Apple did not buy um the part that like any non-smartphone parts of that business shows that Apple will probably never release a cellular MacBook.
Uh, um, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Something messed up with my internet, I think.
Oh, I think that it shows that Apple will probably never sell a cellular MacBook.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they wanted to, they would just have bought it now. It seems
Yeah,
pointless to be holding it back at this point.
yeah. I'm kind of curious because they said smartphones, and they said that Intel can continue to make modems for products that are not smartphones. And I wonder how they're defining that because I'm surprised that um, Apple didn't pick up the parts of it that would go in an iPad because they do make cellular iPads. So you would think that they want to be able to make their they can still make their own parts for that. So I was actually wondering if maybe that part of the deal was cellular modems with ARM chips, and Intel continued to make modems for products with x86 chips, which would be very interesting because there's been rumors for years that Apple's going to switch to ARM on a Mac.
I mean, they do have their A series processors are very good at this point. The iPad Pro has that A12X, and that was crazy fast already.
I'm skeptical. I am skeptical. For years we heard about how these ARM processors they're so good, and that they're they can be desktop products, they can go in laptops, like they're so good now. And then we got an ARM laptop, which was the Snapdragon 831, 835 ones.
Fine.
They were awful. Like Qualcomm used to say at the 820, the Snapdragon 820 was equivalent to a Core i3, and like that shouldn't have that bad of an experience. So this was the next generation, and it was terrible. So I'm just skeptical anytime someone says like, "Oh yeah, these ARM processors today are so good. Like we're just going to put them in laptops and it's going to be great." Like I don't believe that until I see it.
Yeah, we gotta wait for the HCX now. I mean, it did try some demos at that. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it seems like it's a good product, but I also want it in my hands because like I've seen this promise broken before.
Yeah, I get that. Hopefully soon. Hopefully this year.
Yeah, that's right.
They announced that very early. Like we have to wait almost a whole year between the announcement of the processor and products with it. So that kind of sucks.
Well, yeah, but they also, I mean, they did the same thing with like they announced Windows on ARM, and those first PCs didn't come out for another year, or they weren't even announced for another year. So I mean, it's not uncommon. We'll get some HCX devices in a few months, probably at IFA, and then in December they'll announce the HCX2 or whatever they're going to call it.
Well, they do have the HCX 5G. Do you think they'll announce another one right now?
The HCX 5G is the exact same chip but with a 5G modem. Um, so it wouldn't surprise me if they had a real successor announced in December, and then that shipped in holiday season 2020.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I'm only skeptical because I think someone, maybe you asked them if why there wasn't a successor to the 850 or something,
Oh yeah,
and they said they don't think the PC cycle needs to be refreshed as quickly. So that's the only reason I'm skeptical about that.
they did. I
HCX
do
two
think they'll have
so
something
early
new.
on.
Um, you know what? They could have a refresh of the 850 this year. At 'Cause I mean they're gonna do something. They're moving quick. Like I was looking at because we wrote about some, what was it? Oh, a Samsung PC that has what seems to be an unannounced chip, and I was guessing it was the Snapdragon 7C that they've talked about.
Oh,
You know, but looking at the timeline, they announced Windows on ARM at Snapdragon Tech Summit in December 2016. They announced the devices in December 2017 with the Snapdragon 835, and then look at that, like in about a year, they already had Snapdragon 850 devices shipping. So I mean, like they're moving quick, and then at in December 2018 they announced the 8CX. So they are moving quick. I don't know if I really believe that excuse that like, oh, the PC cycle doesn't need to be upgraded. I think that they wanted their mid range chip and they were like, oh, we have one already. Let's focus on the 8CX.
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, but yeah, the 7C would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll have one. They've talked about it that on the Mobile Tech podcast. Don McGuire talked about it in my interview with Miguel Nunez. He talked about it, and they didn't talk about the Snapdragon 7C specifically, but they talked about having different tiers. So it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think that's something you need for ARM processors too,
Yeah.
because that's something
Well,
very
and
common
like
in the other.
if you want to be successful in the PC market, you need to have the budget tier there. It needs to be there.
Yeah, it does. Because even with the 835, which isn't all that powerful, devices are super expensive given the specs. So,
Yeah.
you need to have a lower entry barrier so people can at least try.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
All right. Let's wrap it up. I think we're
okay.
done.
Yeah, we
All
already
right.
went a little over time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wanna pimp your Twitter?
Oh yeah. So I am at Indospot. That's INDOSPOT.
Yeah. I'm at the Rich Woods, and we'll catch you guys next week.
All right. See you, everyone.